Greetings and thanks for watching. Today I'm going to tell you a pretty fascinating story here about a heavy duty prison fight that I got in when I first got onto a GP yard way back in 2014. And really, really heavy duty stuff here. And I had to hurt this guy really badly. So you're going to want to watch this so you can find out exactly how this ended. And in one way, from one perspective, it was really kind of the best thing that ever happened to me in terms of that horrible time in prison. So I just want to give you the background here. 2014, March or so, I arrived at Pleasant Valley State Prison. I took to calling it Unpleasant Valley, of course, because you know how pleasant can a prison really ever be? Even though this place had an enhanced program, I mean, it's still prison, heavy duty racial politics, and just violence all the time, and just people that don't care one bit about living by principle and just making stuff out of themselves. It was pretty heavy duty. When I got to Pleasant Valley Prison, I had ridden the bus with a kid named Corey. We had struck up a conversation at Wasco where we were in reception early at 5 in the morning and rode the bus together and got to know each other a bit. So by the time we get arrive at the other prison in a couple of hours, we're chit-chatting, we're becoming friends, and we decide, hey, let's see if we can be cellmates. And this kid Corey, he's my friend to this very day, though I haven't been able to find him yet. He's out of prison, but I haven't been able to find him. He's smart, handsome kid, really, really intelligent, a little bit of a poet. He quoted me a couple of his poems from memory, and I was really quite impressed by that. And so we just kind of hit it off. We were able to become cellmates. There was this officer, her name was Miss, we called it, what was her name? Miss B. Barajas or something, I'm not really positive. But she was cool enough, brought us our trays when we were in orientation for a few days, and of course the politics are like, hey, we got to see your paperwork and this and that. It's pretty heavy duty racial politics, as you've no doubt at least heard, I would hope. But Miss Barajas, funny because prisons sucks. The decor of that place is just concrete, metal, gray, and nobody cares about how it looks. And that's what I think about when I think about this officer. She was chubby, enormous butt, but some guys like that, and just she was like a 5. But I remember her kindness to us. She was friendly enough and let us continue to be cellmates when we went from orientation into building C3 at Pleasant Valley State Prison. We were in cell 120, and that's where Corey and I became cellmates and pretty good friends. But then a week or two we were talking about life and becoming friends. And the shot caller in that building was a guy named Nut, and he was a white guy. Of course, I was running with the whites. I am culturally just very white. I'm half Mexican. That's why my last name is Armendariz. But I'm culturally just very white, raised mostly by my mom when I was a kid, especially, and she's white. So I ran with the whites, but they have their heavy-duty politics. Of course, the Southsiders, the Northerners, all of these groups have pretty heavy politics. Not all of them. Some of the groups don't really politic much, but the whites certainly did. So Nut was the shot caller for our building, and he has a role in this story. He was a little bit more articulate, wanted to get an education, had some education, some wisdom in there. Of course, he got promoted to shot caller because he's not some total dipshit, right? And the shot caller for the entire yard was a big, ugly, quite ignorant dude named Raider, and I have no idea how he got where he got, but he was the shot caller for the entire yard. And there's another guy named Mike, who's now one of my best friends in the world. He's out of prison. We hang out, and there's a whole completely different story about Mike there that is really actually almost impossible to believe, the coincidences there, and how Mike and I are from the same community, and there's a great story there that I'll tell another time. But Mike ends up becoming one of my best friends in the world. And then the principal here, the person that I fight, is a guy named Drew, and he's a big, probably close to 200, 6 feet, maybe 6'1", even, super solid white guy, hell of a grip, look you right in the face, seemed like his guy with no fear, not somebody that you just want to walk up and just say, hey, let's fight, right? And I tend to size up men as a warrior, martial artist. You kind of taking stock of men a little bit, at least when you meet them, and handshake, eye contact, size of them, of course, whether they move like an athlete or whether they're a tub of shit, So Drew was a solid white guy, right? And he's the guy that I end up getting into some trouble here with. And how it goes is, I just don't have the prison mindset at all. I was very educated. I had been a teacher for 20 years, and I didn't share any of their just ignorant bigotry, of course. The thinking about the cops are just all bad and against us, and we got to be anti-cop and this and that. And so there was just ways in which I just really didn't fit in. I mean, I was doing yoga on the yard. I was doing my own training the way I like to train, which is I'm doing my one-arm push-ups and pistols, squats, and pull-ups, of course, and yoga stuff, hand balance, walking on my hands, doing a scorpion pose and different things like that. But apparently, I guess I only had boxers, that maybe state-issued boxers at the time. So apparently my testicles were flailing and becoming visible at times, and they mentioned that in the course of this. In days after I start kind of doing my thing, training, which of course would be things like I said, yoga, hand balance stuff, handstands and headstands, things like that. My one-arm push-ups and other strength stuff. Mixed martial arts drills, whether shadow boxing, whether on the heavy bag, and then my good friend Mike and I, he takes to me as like, hey, I want to learn some mixed martial arts stuff from you. So he was a great training partner. So we started doing some of that on the yard. But it's this different mindset, this thinking that's outside the box, that's not that ignorant, white politics, weiße Macht, is, white power thing that that was just not part of me at all. I didn't share any of that. So that, my open mind about doing yoga and things like that was too much for the ignorant white guys, like especially Trader or Raider. In my essay, I changed names. I called him Trader, but his name's Raider. Didn't sit well with those guys. Nut probably wouldn't have had any problem with it. In fact, I think there was some discussion there, and he was not tripping about things like that, But they mentioned, hey, your balls are out. They start calling me coach within a week or two of me getting there because I'm teaching guys stuff, and it's clear that I'm an athlete, and I told them I had been a teacher, PE, this and that. So I get the nickname coach. But that mindset is what really gets me in trouble here, because I just don't share any of that. I'm like, these ignorant turds. I mean, yoga is just so great. It just makes you feel good, and it's flexibility, and there's definitely some strength stuff involved there, and posing, and it's got a mind, body, soul, spirit element to it, right? That's the beauty of yoga and that kind of exercise. And they just weren't having it, But one thing certainly that was happening was that they were seeing this freaking dude. I was probably like 215, 220 pounds at 5'9". I was, chubby, fairly stout. I'm much fitter now, but I was still doing one-arm push-ups in sets of 12, 14, 15 reps. It's just very strong. And so no doubt some guys were like, oh my, look at this freaking dude, And then one day Corey came into the cell after we'd been on the yard training and stuff, and he said, Drew, who was also in our building, he said, Drew was like, is your cellie this much of a J-cat in the cell too? The J-cat is category J from the CDCR, meaning the kind of the mentally crazy people, So it was kind of a light insult, and just sending more of that message like, this guy doesn't fit in with the normal white guy mentality, right? So that was, in my mind, I'm thinking, I filed that as I'm getting maybe some future problems here, and noted that it was this Drew guy, whatever. But, you get a sense right away that I'm just not fitting in with the way they'd probably want me to just kind of not stand out. But now I have a choice to make about wanting to continue my training and the excellent ways I'm trying to live to get through prison and transcend this place. And so I continue, with that training for the most part, not taking much, I didn't take any offense from that, what Drew said, really. And then Mike and I, my best friend, one of my really good friends, to this day, again, he's a free man. We hang out now. But at the time, we're stuck there in Pleasant Valley Prison, and he's in my building as well. He loves the training with me. I mean, he's a very open-minded guy. He was very strong. I mean, he could do so many pistols, and he could do like 7 muscle-ups in a row. I was very impressed with Mike. Just a really, really fit. Low body fat, plenty of strength, 6 foot tall, good-looking dude, just super intelligent guy. And again, one of my best friends. And respect to Mike throughout this friendship that we've had. But Mike gets real excited. He's the reason they started calling me coach, because I was taking him under my wing to teach him all kinds of real good mixed martial arts stuff. But some of those drills we weren't doing near the heavy bag is what got us in trouble. A Raider came over and had a conversation with me saying, hey, you can't, no more of this yoga shit, this weird stuff. No more, you got your balls flailing in the air, whatever. You're wearing boxers, whatever. I hadn't had time to get better underwear yet from a package. So I'd kind of been like warned to kind of warned off of that stuff. And then especially on the MMA stuff, because I do some kind of alive active drills that could, to the untrained person, look a little bit like you're actually fighting, or it's getting violent, or it's out of control, whatever. So he's like, you're going to get the yard put down. The cops don't know what you're doing, whatever. So it's just some ridiculous thinking there. But we kind of got heavily warned, about that. So I mean, I'm one guy in the white politics, so I'm not going to like break the rules and be stupid and get myself into hot water and get attacked by a bunch of guys. On another video, I told the story about having to fight 5 men and how that went. And so I was kind of trying to take heed, tone it down some, and so we continued to train, and that was the first confrontation. And then there was another day. Now it's I've probably been at this prison now for 3 weeks or so when this started to become a big issue here, and it happens over a few days here. So that a few days later, I'm out there training with Mike again, and we've done some strength training, push, pull, some leg work, whatever. And then we're doing kind of an active drill to sort of supplement the pull training, where you're pulling the guy's arm like you're jerking the guy in a fight to take him into a grappling situation or to control him, whatever. So we're yanking on each other's arms, and that's kind of an alive drill, looking a little bit aggressive and combative and fight-like, I guess. So now, this is the problem here. Now Nut comes over, my building rep, but following him are Drew and Raider, the shot caller for the whole yard, and Mutt. I called him Mutt in the essay, but it's Nut. I'm mixing that up a little bit. Nut is he's the shot caller from my building, so probably he's thinking, hey, this guy Matt, they're calling him coach now, whatever. This coach is from my building. I'm gonna go talk to him. But he brings the other guys. They follow him along because I think they had probably talked about it over here in the Whites area, and I'm like, there's coach still kind of doing some crazy stuff here. So they come over. And right away, Nut's like, "Hey, I thought you guys were told you can't doing that kind of shit, whatever, And we're just like looking at each other like, come on, guys, we're doing really good training here. I mean, the whole mentality, we were supposed to like train, be on the yard, training, staying strong, staying ready to riot, be ready for a fight, stay sharp and all this stuff. So there was nobody on the yard in any of the races, any of the groups doing the kind of training that we were doing, which is really going to prepare you for scraps compared to this garbage way most of these people train in there. So we're like, kind of what the heck, But Raiders over there with him, kind of, saying some ignorant things about all of it. And Nut was wiser, calmer, could think, a man of more reason. And Drew's there just looking like he's the tough guy, his arms crossed, like he's the muscle, he's the heavy, big badass. Although he wasn't quite as big as Raider, because Raider was a fat mofo, not huge, but just out of shape. Drew was solid. So Drew's over there, looking like like he's the tough guy, right? And so we're trying to talk, and it's having some good conversation with Nut, talking through these things, and Raider saying stupid things here and there, and then Drew saying stupid things. And at one point, Mike says, "Guys, we're just trying to train, we're just trying to work out." And Drew kind of barks at him like, "Well, your workout is disrespecting me," And so, and he kind of real aggressively said it to Mike, and I just kind of opened up so I'm facing Drew a little bit and between them a little bit, although Nut's really in between all of us. Like, my body language was like, bro, this is kind of my thing. Don't mess with Mike. If you want to mess with somebody, you're going to mess with me. But Drew's still there posing like the heavy, and we're talking. And then he says, when he sees me now, kind of looking at him, not hard, just, kind of like, what's up a little bit, and kind of ready to say, hey, this is going to be my problem, not Mike's problem. He looks at me and he says, what, you got a problem? And I take it kind of badly. I mean, I didn't take it perfectly well. I sort of was like, I go, what? Like, you want to fight me like fair in a cell? I'll hurt you. That's exactly what I said to him. And that was foolish for me to put it like that, to be aggressive there. There was just no reason for that. And this is the thing, of course, that kind of really sets it all in motion. But we continue to talk, agreeing that any MMA training needs to happen by the heavy bag, because that's going to look, the heavy bag, you're doing boxing, and we would get away with kicking, sometimes kickboxing in different drills. And so we agreed we would stick to that. And we were all kind of settling down, and it was going to be reasonable. And I remember that Raider had said, after I said, I'll hurt you, to Drew, he goes, oh, you shouldn't have said that, man. Drew just got out of the hole for hurting people. I guess he had stabbed somebody, so he had, served his time in the hole, whatever. But that was kind of meant to intimidate me. Oh, no, you watch out for Drew here. And but it did finally just settle down, and nothing, of course, broke out right there. And at the end, Mike was so gracious. I mean, I'm apologizing, and I was just like, Mike, you didn't do anything wrong here. I'm the one who's kind of initiating these kind of things, and you're nothing but respectful and a super good dude. He's smart and just down to earth. A great human being. I mean, I love this guy. To this day, we're just good friends, But at the end, I actually apologized to Drew. I said, hey, sorry, man. Especially, I'm gonna hurt you. I was foolish, So we leave in peace there, right? And then about an hour later, maybe I stayed on the yard for another hour. An hour later, we head into the day room, and Nut comes up to me, and he says, hey, I guess there's still a problem here. Drew's tripping, and he he wants to get you, and he said Drew was just gonna like jump you, maybe stab you, and just whatever. And Nut goes, but I wasn't gonna let him, Coach. I just I said none of that dope fiend shit. You're gonna do it right. It's gonna be fair. If you got a problem, we're gonna let you guys fight, whatever. So I had apologized, but he couldn't get past it, which of course is his folly. I was sincerely like, hey, I shouldn't have put it like that, whatever. And he just couldn't get past it, and this bit him in the ass because, as you're gonna learn here, he got royally fucked up by me, of course. So now once Nut has made the call, hey, you guys got to handle this at some point, whatever. The cops will probably let you fight, whatever. Take it in the cell and just deal with this, whatever. So I was like, okay. I mean, I'd rather do it sooner than later because you don't want that hanging over. You want to be at peace, right? Have peace of mind. So I said, well, when? He goes, well, probably tonight after dinner. And by now it's probably early afternoon, so we're looking 4 or 5 hours. So I go in the cell and chill. Corey comes in the cell a little later, my cellmate, Corey, who I mentioned earlier, and I'm joking with him. I'm trying to be ironic, so I say, hey, Corey, I think I caught my first fade today, and he's, being ironic, like the educated guy talking like the gangbanger, and he's like, huh, fade? He goes, fight? You mean you get a fight, or you're going to have a fight? And I said, yeah, bro. So I told him the whole story of the ridiculous events of the morning and all that, and said, but then he steps up as my corner man, my friend, my brother, he's like, oh man, you got this, and Drew this, Drew that, he doesn't ever train, and he goes, dude, you're for a dude as big as you are, I've never seen a dude as strong as you. When you're 225 and you can bust out 15 one-arm push-ups and even more than that in a PR set, that's strong. And Corey recognized that, and so he's trying to pump me up. And Nut had said, man, you guys are just going to gas out in 20 or 30 seconds anyway, because I was chubby and Drew never trains, whatever. So Nut was cool, Nut was an okay dude here in the whole thing. But then after dinner, we come back and Nut's like, hey man, these cops up there in the tower, they're not going to let you handle it. You're not gonna be able to fight tonight, So I was like, oh my God, So I'm like, when? He goes, well, hopefully after breakfast. So I spent that night in anxiety, right, wondering what's this fight gonna be like, and when, and all this, no peace, And I remember just having that kind of that fear sweat anxiety, when the apocrine glands under your armpits are just kind of working, and then that's when courage comes in. You gotta get past that fear. So I was talking myself up to it, talking with Drew, doing shadow boxing, planning how to fight this thing out. I had gotten the permission. I wasn't allowed to kick the guy, and it's not a lot of room and not a good idea in this cell anyway. But I asked, hey, can I grapple this guy? can I take him down? Can we be like, hey, grappling is no problem, whatever. So that was kind of the plan, was to try to get Drew to the ground, and maybe have kind of like a ground and pound situation. In fact, there was this other guy named Brock who was. He had the yard before, and I don't know what happened, why he lost the yard or something, but he was a really good athlete. Actually, we played some basketball together a lot, but he said, hey, just ground him and pound him, get him down, and then just pound on him, coach, and I was like, that's the goal, I guess. So the next morning after breakfast, sure enough, we're walking back, and we get the permission. Nut says it's on, and Mikey, who is Drew's cellmate, Mike says, hey, I'm going to be the ref. We got the permission. Nut had to go to his cell, but they let Mikey be out there because he was Drew's cellmate, and they didn't have to take it home because of this, right? And Corey, my cellmate, didn't have to take it home. And trailing behind a little bit, later coming back from Chow, was Mike, my very good friend Mike. I didn't see Mike at all. I had no idea. All I did was zip back to the cell, then get in the cell, tie my shoes on tight, just get prepped, right? I've got my hands up, because those guys are like, Corey's like, Matt, Drew's probably just going to come through this door here swinging, bro. So, be ready, So Mikey, his cellmate, Drew's cellmate, is going to be the ref, and Corey's just kind of staying out of the way, staying out of the cell behind Mikey. So Drew indeed comes rushing through that cell with his hands kind of up, but maybe only one hand up. I don't know, chin way too far forward, just marching forward, look of death. I'm going to kill you on his face. Throws a right haymaker, but this guy's not an athlete. He's just a big dude, strong, but he's not an athlete. So he throws a sloppy, punch. My plan, if I saw that, was exactly what I ended up doing. I just slip under that, and I just, I take him down. I go right to a double leg takedown. I'm my shoulders in his hips, and I'm got both legs wrapped. It's literally perfect. My desired grappling situation for my strength to be a factor and not break my hands hitting the walls and bunk and the locker and stuff is already happening. I lift him off the ground an inch or two and just take him down hard. I bump my left thigh on the toilet, but he lands hard. Just boom, like a sack of potatoes, bam. And I check his legs with my right hand, and now I mount, and I'm literally sitting on this guy's chest, his stomach and chest, of course, in the mount position, exactly where I want this to go. He's His head is out, and maybe his shoulders are just right in the doorway, maybe sticking out of the doorway a little bit. So the tower cop shorty can see. Dudes all on that side of the building can see out their windows. Corey and Mike have a great view. Corey and Mikey. Other Mike sees this whole thing apparently, So it's on now. I'm on top of this guy, and I just start ground and pounding his face. I open up heavy pinch cuts over each of his right here, his eyebrows right here, and he's bleeding into his face. It's horrible. He has not landed a single blow. The only mark I get is a bruise on my left thigh from when I bumped the toilet in the doorway right there as I took him down hard. He's trying to throw punches from below, right? But those are easily deflected, and I'm high up enough. So when I'm timing each blow, I'm just pounding him, right? It's ground and pound. Pounding him hard all over his face, the bony protuberances of his face, especially, again, opening up 2 heavy cuts here. So he's just dripping blood. And we're not 30 seconds into this fight, maybe only 20 seconds into this fight, when Mikey, who's the ref, goes, "Hey, coach, stop, and I'm like, "What? Stop." I go, "Let him back up, fuck that." And I keep pounding him on his face, and Mikey's like, "No, stop. He like, that's it." Like, he's being the ref, I guess it's over. He sees that this guy has no chance. He's already getting pummeled, and I'm like, "Wait, you mean like it's over? I win, whatever?" And he said, we're hemming and hawing for a second there. I'm still pounding him, still pounding this guy's face. And he's still trying to resist and fight, but he's getting bloodied. He's getting fucked up, of course. And so Mikey finally says, "Hey," he says, stop, or I'm gonna fight you 2-on-1. I'm gonna jump in the fight, and I'm gonna, So I'm like, and Corey's right there, my cellmate, right behind Mikey. And later Corey's like, "Matt, I would have jumped in. I would not let a Mikey double team you. That's not what this is all about, But finally I go, okay, so it's over, it's done, So I get up off Drew, back into my cell a few steps, and Drew gets up, and he's just gushing. He's already, blood's in his face, of course, right, not on his hands now because he's feeling for that. He turns in the mirror and looks in the mirror, and probably in the mirror for a couple, at least, I don't know, 20, 30 seconds, trying to stem that with toilet paper, the bleeding. It's a horrible situation, And he turns and he says to me, "Wow, Matt, you got me good." And I said, "Bro, you got saved. I was going to hurt you much worse." I mean, I could have easily taken some sort of a Americana shoulder lock and just taught him a hard lifetime lesson by just tearing to pieces his shoulder. Now, I might have gotten in a lot of trouble for that. I don't really know. But at the time, I wanted to send a message there. I wanted to say, you ruined my peace. I was friendly about this whole thing. I'm doing nothing wrong. I apologize for my one mistake for what I said. And I admit that I was, angered by what they had done at the whole white politics thing, and Drew in particular. And I'm glad I didn't end up hurting him worse, but I was like, "Bro," he's like, "You got me good." I'm like, "Dude, you got saved, bro." So we shake hands, actually, and he, that's kind of the white guy respectful thing to do. So we shake hands, and he scurries up to his cell with Mike. I mean, he's bleeding like crazy, and he goes up to his cell. He didn't come out of his cell for 2 weeks to the day. On a Saturday, 2 weeks later, he finally came out of his cell because he would look so chewed up that the nurses and people would have been like, "What's up?" And they maybe would have been follow up on that. In fact, the white rules would have kept him in his cell. Like, you can't bring any trouble, right, to stuff. You can't tell on people, right? So he just had to stay in his cell, and he did. And then I was kind to this guy. I was like, said to Corey, "Hey, he's gonna have to stay in his cell. Like, should I send him some food? I give him some food from the canteen, or whatever." He's like, "Nah, they'll take care of him. The white guys will take care of him, whatever." So he just got completely mollywopped. I mean, just really horribly mollywopped. He just couldn't get past his ego thing and couldn't forgive me, even though I sincerely said, "Bro, I shouldn't have said what I said." He couldn't get past it, and so he really, really, really got pounded. And there's just all these great parts to the story. Little Mikey, wanting to double team me because he's seeing his cellmate getting pummeled, but trying to be the ref too. But here's one of the best parts is that Mike, my friend Mike, a really good friend, he had walked up, but I didn't see him at all. I didn't know. So an hour later, when I come out of my cell into the day room, Mike's out there, I don't know, playing chess or whatever, hanging out, and I go, "Mike," did you hear what happened? He goes, "Matt, here, I was right there. I was standing by the stairs right there. I could see the whole thing." And I go, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah, dude." He goes, he's shaking his head like, "Oh my God." He goes, "Bro, I've been in prison now for several years." He goes, "I have never ever seen a fight that dominant in prison where you just completely dominated this guy. I mean, he didn't do anything, and you fucking left him mincemeat, So he was pumping me up, but that was his opinion on what he had seen there, because most prison fights are pretty sloppy. Not a highly trained dude pummeling some jackass with a big mouth and a small mind and whatever. So he got mollywopped, and then bunch of guys on that side of the building had a real clear view of it, and so afterwards there was just so much, just deference, just people like even Corey jokingly, like, he goes, "Dude, remind me never to piss you off when we come back in the cell. And we're talking shit, braggadocio and bravado, you know, hey, after dominating that fight, I go, tonight, man, the UFC fights are on. I'm gonna throw a spread, man. We'll need some burritos, you know, just in a celebratory mood, because it couldn't have gone any better for me in a fist fight like that, right? And the domination of a man that other people were afraid of, that of course now is transferred to me, so that I have people are deferent toward me, right? There's deference now, which is just like a courteous respect, right? Sort of, you know, hey, that's coach, respect, bro, you know. And you know, some of the other guys from the other races, a couple bulldogs there joked, you know, like, oh my god, dude, you know, I don't let me piss you off, you know. And it was just kind of being humorous too, you know. That guy's name was Joker, big dude from Fresno, you know. But that was a beautiful thing that happened this whole fight, because it really just gave me confidence, because I knew my skills were, but there's fight experience issues, you know, and I hadn't had a bunch of fist fights, right? I've just lots of sparring and heavy duty training, and almost had my fight in the ring that I got really great shape for and developed my skills big time. That had been many years before that. And so this whole thing ended up just being the kind of thing where I was like, these dipshits can't fight just because they're in prison. You know, I thought they were all going to be better at fighting, but my confidence just got like, it was like, you know, hey, I got this, you know. And then of course there was the deference. You know, Dave was another white guy, and I used to wear these toe shoes that I had gotten in my first package. I mean, I'd only been wearing them for like a week. But I knew that was another issue that maybe those guys would trip on, because you got to leave the cell in your shoes. And maybe they were looking at me going, come on, coach can't fight in those shoes, you know. And that just was maybe something else that these small-minded men were tripping on from their bigoted and silly ways, you know. So I had stopped wearing the shoes for a time, and then Dave came up to me a few days after the fight, and he goes, what's up, coach? How come you're not wearing those toe shoes? He used to joke with me about them, you know. That was the Vibrams type 5 fingers shoes, you know. And I said, well, you know, I just don't want any more trouble over this kind of stuff, you know, just, you know, how to live here, you know. And he goes, dude, after what you did to Drew, he goes, there ain't nobody gonna tell you how to live, bro. You know, he made me laugh, of course, pumping me up a little bit. But this whole fight it's just caused by small-mindedness, really. That's what set things in motion. And then Drew's small-mindedness, inability to be a gracious person that goes, yeah, I can forgive you. You know, you didn't mean to say that, and I have no more beef with you. But he couldn't get there. And the craziest thing, the irony in the whole story, is that Drew, even after the 5'9" dude, old, you know, I was in my 40s, you know, gray-headed and shaving my head bald, you know, but you know, I was not some young dude. I mollywopped this guy, and he still walked around, you know, with his head up and his chest puffed out like he was the man. And dudes would come up to me and mock him to me for that. They'd go, coach, a couple of us, we saw what you did to him. We all heard what you did to him. And look at how he still is, you know. And then down the road, I actually did business with Drew, because he needed to borrow money, and I had this system for trying to hustle and make money and stuff. But he just didn't learn, you know. When he left that place, he still was this guy with his head up and his, you know, thinking he was the man. But he's the man who got his ass handed to him on a platter by the guy, OG, the coach, you know, me. And so just an interesting story there. You know, lessons about life there, just about training is always a really good thing. Stay ready, stay sharp, right? You're training your mind, reading and studying and keeping your body strong, and mixed martial arts is never going to fail you in terms of helping you to be ready for some hand-to-hand combat and stuff always. So highly recommend those kind of things. And lessons of wisdom there, just about, you know, guarding what you say and guarding what you let bother you in your heart, and you know, just things like that. And of course, from Drew, you can see the foolishness of the pride, you know, and the foolishness of other men there. Raider, not long after that, ended up getting stabbed bad. I mean, left in the ambulance, you know, removed for whatever reason. I don't even know. But it's just, it's a crazy situation there. And I sought greatly to transcend that place, and in so many ways did. And this is one of the lessons where I learned some things from it, and certainly got that kind of confidence that I would be okay there, that I could handle myself just fine, you know. And word got around, don't fuck with Coach. That dude, he's a beast. He beat the fuck out of Drew over there, and dudes were afraid of Drew because he's a bigger dude, you know, and had a serious demeanor, you know. So that later, when we were worried there was going to be this riot over this white crip, a white guy running with the blacks or whatever, you know, a guy named Troy came over and handed me the softball bat. You know, it's like, hey, put Coach on the howitzer, you know, because he knows how to use that thing or whatever. I was never going to hurt somebody with that thing. It's not my way. You know, I never bought into any of that racial bigotry and stuff. And I had people I loved and respected and cared for that I would have not ever let be getting hurt if I could do something about it. But that doesn't mean I'm going to do some bullshit riot over some garbage thinking, you know. So life lessons, and I thank you for listening, and I hope to continue to grow, and I hope that's what you're finding here. Please like and subscribe so I can continue to bring you fabulous stories from prison too, and just lessons. I want you to become a better man just as I want to become a better man, and you can, starting today, right now. Just decide that you're going to make something more of yourself and of your life, and that can happen. Warrior salute, as always, right? It's strength and health, wisdom and wealth to you. Peace.